Hello, everyone. Today, we're going to break down Johan versus Daniel by comparing their paths and abilities. Don't worry, it's not that hard to understand. We'll explain everything step by step. First, we have to understand Johan's path. Since I'm making a video, I'm going to break it down slowly and clearly so everyone understands exactly what makes Johan so different from every other fighter in the Lookism universe. Johan's path is called the Infinite Technique, and this name isn't just for show. It represents the entire evolution of Johan as a fighter, not just what he learned, but how he thinks, reacts, adapts, and rebuilds himself in real time during combat. To understand Johan's path, we need to look at the core of his ability, his talent for copying. Johan has spent years observing and mimicking the movements, techniques, rhythms, and instincts of the strongest fighters around him. At first, it was simple, learning a move, repeating it, then using it against someone else. But what really defines his path is how this basic ability evolved. Instead of just copying separate techniques, Johan started combining them. He understood the timing, the flow, the angles, the weight distribution, and the mental patterns behind every move he ever witnessed. With time, these copy techniques began merging into one fluid system, creating something far beyond basic imitation. This is where the Infinite Technique truly begins. Johan's attacks don't come from one style or one school. They come from every style he has ever seen. His punches and kicks can shift from boxing to taekwondo to street brawling in a fraction of a second. Because of this, his strike arcs become nearly impossible to predict. Not even experienced fighters can anticipate what angle he'll attack from next. His path doesn't stay still. It evolves during the fight itself. The more he sees, the more he absorbs. The more pressure he's under, the more instinctively his body selects and fuses techniques. This adaptability is what makes Johan terrifying. He isn't following a fixed pattern, so traditional counters don't work on him. Unlike other fighters who train one style their whole lives, Johan's path is built from infinite copies, but those copies don't remain separate. They form a seamless, ever-changing system that belongs to him alone. His combat identity isn't defined by a single master or a single discipline, it's defined by pure evolution. So when we talk about Johan's path, we're talking about a fighter who has turned every fight he ever saw, every technique he ever copied, and every instinct he ever developed into one ultimate fighting system that is constantly rewriting itself. That is Johan's Infinite Technique, the foundation we need before comparing him to Daniel. Now let's talk about Daniel's path. Daniel's path can be described as future sight, or the mastery of the five senses. Just like Johan, he starts with perfect copy, but the real core of his path isn't the copying itself, it's the way he uses his genius-level sensory abilities to take that copying to an entirely different level. Daniel uses his eyes, ears, sense of air movement, body awareness, and even subtle changes in smell to read opponents in a way no normal fighter can. For Daniel, the smallest shift in weight, the slightest muscle tension, or the tiniest change in breathing becomes a readable signal. These signals let him understand what his opponent is planning long before the move is even executed. His path is built on the idea of perceiving the path of an incoming attack. Daniel doesn't just react to punches or kicks, he sees the strike trajectory, the force behind it, and the intention of the movement before it fully launches. This is why he can dodge or counter even against opponents who are faster or physically stronger. Daniel isn't reacting to the attack itself, he's reacting to the beginning of the idea behind the attack. Because of this advanced perception, Daniel can also identify weak points better than almost anyone. When he looks at an opponent's guard, stance, or footwork, he can instantly tell where the opening is going to appear. During the flow of battle, he sees the gaps in real time, letting him strike the most vulnerable points with perfect timing. It looks almost like Daniel has a complete understanding of someone's whole technique after watching just a few movements. Daniel's path is both offensive and defensive at the same time. Defensively, his sensory mastery gives him unmatched evasion. Speed advantages stop mattering because Daniel reads the move before it happens. Offensively, he attacks with accuracy that feels intentional and calculated down to the smallest degree. His hits land exactly where they will deal the most damage, turning even simple strikes into devastating blows. Another key part of his path is that Daniel doesn't just mimic techniques he sees, he evolves them. When he copies something, he adapts it to his own bodies and refines it until the move fits him better than the original user. That's why Daniel's copied techniques often end up stronger, cleaner, and more functional than the originals. His path is about adaptation, refinement, and surpassing what he observes. When we compare this directly to Johan, the difference becomes very clear. Johan's infinite technique is all about infinite attacks, blending countless techniques to overwhelm an opponent. But Daniel's entire path is built around infinite perception and infinite adaptation. While Johan attacks from every angle, Daniel reads every angle. While Johan overwhelms defenses, Daniel understands and breaks defenses. This gives Daniel an edge because he doesn't just see techniques, he sees the weaknesses inside them. So, let's jump into the final verdict. Daniel's path gives him the unique ability to see an opponent's deepest intention. This means that Johan's infinite technique, despite its unpredictability and countless strike arcs, won't fully work against him. And the same applies to Daniel. Both fighters will still land hits on each other because their attacks are incredibly fast and difficult to dodge. But what really gives Daniel the edge is his ability to read weaknesses. He can spot the exact weakest point in an opponent's guard, or the slightest flaw in their stance or movement, and land a hit precisely there. Even a single precise strike from Daniel can completely change the course of a fight. That said, it's not as if Johan has no chance. Right now, this is more of a 60-over-40 situation. Daniel's greatest limitation is stamina. We already saw this in his fight with Peicheon Joe. His brain can't maintain the path at full efficiency for too long. The constant sensory input, the ongoing prediction of attacks, and the mental processing required to read every subtle cue is extremely taxing. Johan, on the other hand, has proven stamina and endurance. He can continue fighting effectively even under pressure or exhaustion. The difference is that Johan no longer has the same revenge-driven will he had against Gun Park, which previously helped him push beyond his limits. So while he may not be as explosive in this fight, his stamina and endurance remain impressive. So, let's make this final decision. Daniel clearly has the early advantage because of his sensory mastery and pinpoint precision, but the fight is not over until it's over. If Johan survives Daniel's critical hits and the battle lasts longer, the advantage can swing in his favor. This makes their matchup incredibly tense and dynamic, where strategy, timing, and endurance will decide the ultimate winner.